They're located on the Thank you.
Yeah.
Albemarle County website. The failure to state these items neither makes the electronic meeting illegal nor invalidates any action taken at the meeting. Should I repeat the first part of our meeting since we weren't being recorded?
It didn't get started in time until I would if I were you.
Okay, I'll start again. I said the second part, I think recorded, so I'll just do the first part. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with ordinance number 20A6. I'll go ahead and say the second part as well. The public has the opportunity to access and participate in the electronic meeting through phone, computer, or tablet. Directions on how to connect are located on the Albemarle County website. The failure to state these items neither makes the electronic meeting illegal nor invalidates any action taken at the meeting. And again, the members that were present are myself, Anthony Sally, Karen Pape, David Farrell, Waki Wynn, Bob Beard, and Evan Mayo. And this will move on to the approval of the minutes next. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting? David, do you know it was on July 29th, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay, I second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Let's move on to, now let me bring up the agenda for this meeting. Apologize. Let's see.
Mr. Farrell, you're keeping track of votes and
I am.
all that. Okay.
So the next item, Anthony, was the introducing of the assessor staff that was present.
And actually, well, I skipped, I guess, was introducing new Board of Equalization members. So either way, I guess we'll start with the Board of Equalization.
All right.
members, and
Yeah.
then we'll
Perfect. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so let's introduce all of the Board of Equalization members. So, I mean, we're gonna get to know each other. So, Karen, do you wish to start?
Sure, I'm Karen Pape. I am representing the Jack Jewett District. I own a real estate appraisal company, Pape and Company Associated. Is that all I say? Okay, that's enough.
Sounds
right?
good.
Whatever you like, Karen. Let me just. David.
I'm David Farrell. I've been on the board for, I think this is now my 5th year, and I'm a real estate broker at Nest Realty.
Waki.
My name is Waki Wynn. I'm a Charlottesville native, been a realtor for 20 years, and I represent the Rio District, and this is my 2nd year on the board.
Thank you. Bob.
My name is Bob Beard, live in Ivy, representing the Samuel Miller District. I am not a realtor. I am just a property owner and investor. Been in Albemarle County for 20 years. It's my first time. I look forward to serving to the best of my ability with fairness and common sense.
Thanks, Bob. And Evan.
Hello. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. My toddler poked me in the eye on Saturday and gave me a corneal abrasion. So I'm sitting here in the dark. But my name's Evan Mayo. I'm an attorney at Trimble & Smith. This will be my first year on the board representing the Scottsville District. And I have lived and invested in Albemarle County for 6 years now.
And I guess I should introduce myself as well. I'm Anthony Sally. I'm also an attorney. I have my own practice, primarily focusing on real estate. I've been on the board for 4 years now, I believe. And with the top, I have 3 young children, with one being born last week. So I understand Evan with the toddler situation. All right, let's move on. It's nice to meet everyone, and look forward to working with all of you this year.
Welcome.
Now to the assessor staff. Pete, if you want to start and introduce your staff.
Sure. So my name is Peter Lynch. I'm the county assessor. I've been the assessor since 2016 and have been here in Albemarle since 2015 and in the assessor's office. Billy Taylor.
I'm Billy Taylor. I am the deputy assessor, and I've been with the county over 20 years.
And Sheila.
Sheila Conrad, and I'm the administrative supervisor, and I've been here about 9 years.
So, Mr. Arsali, we have, typically we would have support from Sheila's staff, but unfortunately, both of the positions, both of the people who worked in those positions recently moved on to other jobs. So we're going to be, Sheila and Billy and I will be handling most of the administrative work. And then we'll be bringing other people in as we hire them to kind of assist. At this point, it's the three of us.
Perfect. Anyone else? All right. Well, I guess our next step is to choose officers. Is the next thing we have on the agenda. I don't know how the process works. Or do we just have folks nominate folks, or how do we want to do that? Or if anyone wants to volunteer.
I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Arsali as chair this year and Ms. Pape as vice chair.
I'll second the motion.
And how about before? Thanks. But before, well, how about secretary? David, would you be willing?
I'm
to be a
happy to
secretary?
do it if no one wants to do it. I mean, but I don't know. Can I nominate myself?
I think go ahead and make the motion for all three, as long as there's
Okay,
no.
I make a motion to, the motion is to appoint Mr. Arsali as chairman, Ms. Pape as vice chair, and myself as secretary.
Second the motion, Evan Mayo.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. well,
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, David. And okay, so I'll continue this here. So next step we have on the agenda, so I'll be a little bit more streamlined or a little better at this, hopefully next time, is going to be overview of the process, public hearings. That's what we did last time. So I don't know if, do we want to, and Pete, I think, so we have that rule situation, we have the hearings coming up. So I don't know what do you think is best to go over next?
So probably establishing the rules would be a good idea next. And because there's a section in there that talks about the process of, going through a hearing. And, if you're going to want to include what is in that document, or if you're going to want to modify it to something more similar to what we've done in the past, more open. But I would say the next step would probably be to review, to go over that document and figure out what rules you want,
sure,
the board wants to follow. Now, Mr. Bissett is here, and he can give a legal update. You can do that before you do the rules of procedure, and that might be helpful.
Sure, let's go ahead and do the legal update first. And then
So Anthony Bissett is in the county attorney's office, and he's here to tell you that he represents me and not the Board of Equalization, among other things, but can share information with you as it relates to how he represents me, I believe. So Anthony, go ahead. Anthony Bissett, go ahead and
So as Pete let you know, I'm in the county attorney's office. I represent Pete as the assessor, as well as the Department of Finance at large, among some other clients. But I am here today in the capacity as the assessor's counsel. I believe you may have been forwarded a couple of documents. One of them, Pete, is it's possible, and it's my fault if it is, that somewhere in the shuffle I sent you not the updated version of the proposed procedure that I crafted out of what had been the Fairfax County procedure, but rather just sent you, with apologies, back the original Fairfax County procedure. I'm not sure, but if you check your email, just to be sure, I sent you the correct one hour and a half ago.
Yes, I believe you sent me one that was updated, but further updated it and made changes from that version you had sent. And that's the one that I sent out to the board yesterday.
Okay. Let's see. Well, then what I have up on my screen right now is what I had finished off with. I wasn't aware that I saw the email where you had recommended the possibility of a handful of changes, but I wasn't aware that you had created a document where you incorporated them. In any case, to start with, let's talk about the legal update. So as Pete alluded to, the first thing that you should know is that I, in my role as the Assessor's Council, may have to appear before this board from time to time. Again, recalling that I'm here as the Assessor's Council. However, it is possible for this board to seek advice through Pete as the assessor, who can lean on me for that, and if and when that's needed or desired, with both Pete's and the board's permission, I can provide that sort of presentation. So let's see. There's only a few things I want to remind you of. There really haven't been much in the way of legal updates. I'm not even sure if there's been any change to the relevant section of the code in the last year. But even going back farther than that, it's not there's not been a great deal of movement in the Virginia Code in the last several years. So things to be aware of just in general as you proceed through your meetings. Of course, you are required to keep minutes, and those minutes need to be sent over a copy of to the assessor. The handout that I created will give you some more background on that. As a public body, y'all are subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and that sort of has two different prongs. The first has to do with the way you conduct your meetings, and the second has to do with public records and documents. So of course, Board of Equalization's meetings are open to the public. There is such a thing as a closed session, what is actually referred to in the statute confusingly as a closed meeting. But when you see, if you ever want to crack FOIA and you see references to closed meetings, don't be confused. A closed meeting exists inside of an open meeting in a sort of a Russian doll kind of a fashion. There's no such thing as a closed meeting that is closed front to back. Let's see. So if there are subgroups created, I understood from Pete's email before that you guys have not normally used panels here in Albemarle County, but if there were committees or if there were panels, basically whatever you want to call it, some group consisting of less than all of you, that is going to hear some sort of business of the Board of Equalization and is or is not going to take action on it. If that is going to happen, you need to think of those subgroups as being public bodies in exactly the same way that you, the Board of Equalization, are a public body. And that goes for, considerations of how many people are on the body, how you get quorum, whether you need to give notice of a public meeting. One thing immediately off the top of my head that means and comes up a lot is that I would recommend that you not adopt subgroups of only 2 or 3 people. Subgroups ideally ought to be 4 people at the least, because as soon as you have, or rather, ideally 4 people, but never 2 people. Because when you have a 2-person subgroup, the moment that those 2 persons talk, you've got quorum, and thus you have a meeting, and thus you ought to have given public notice of it. So just something to keep in mind when creating subgroups. There are notes in the handout having to do with the process for accepting or not accepting late submissions of requested income and expense info from a taxpayer. That's not so much an update as it's just something that you guys should be conversant with and familiar with, because it is sort of technical and a bit inside baseball, and quite frankly, you would never want to make a decision about this topic without actually looking at the rules themselves. I don't know that there's a great deal of point in me wasting this board's time by going over what that process is, because again, inevitably you're going to want to actually look at it line by line if and when that comes up. And you'll notice in the handout that there are links to resources there. So be aware that there is required coursework for you folks. And then there's also this item. It hasn't been updated since 2015, but my review of the statute tells me that it's still almost completely up to date nevertheless, but it is the Manual for Local Boards of Equalization. It was created by the Department of Taxation, but I think the reason being that they have not updated it since 2015, but they no longer host it. It is hosted, there's a link there in the document, but it is hosted most readily by the College of William and Mary. So that is where you'll find it on offer. Again, it's created by Department of Taxation, but as far as I can tell, the reason that they don't host it on their site anymore is because they have seemed to have washed their hands of updating it. But for what it's worth, right now, my read of it is that it is almost completely still on point and valid.
Anthony, I found out when we set up the recent training for 3 of the members that they just updated that manual this year. So we have an updated version that is either on our website now or it's going to be updated soon. Sheila, do you know if that's been put on our website? But we have it in the works to be added to our website so that it'll be on.
I'm sorry, and what is it again?
The Board of Equalization manual.
Oh. Well, let me look real quick.
I know I have the recent copy.
It didn't seem to be available online as of a couple of weeks ago, but it may be now.
Yeah, I didn't find it online. It was just when we contacted the state to set up the training for the new members and for Mr. Farrell, since he had gone over the time period, that they let us know that it had just been updated and sent me a copy. So I will make sure I'll get that out to everyone who wasn't part of the training. So they have if I didn't already send that, did I send that already, Mr. Arceli? I did. Okay. I will send that out to everyone. And also I did not send, you sent me the legal update, Anthony Bissett. I did not send that out to the members of the board.
Okay. Well, you may want to fix that link then, but once you do, I would recommend sending it out because it's got decent links in it.
Okay. All right.
And then besides that, have they seen the proposed procedures?
Yes. That's
So
what I did send them.
On that, I don't have a presentation on it so much as just to offer that I can be a resource for questions about it as you go through the process of editing it, deciding what you want to keep in, what you want to keep out. It started its life as the Fairfax County's rules of procedure, but I made a decent number of changes to it, both legally required because statutory authority lines are somewhat different in Albemarle County versus Fairfax County, but also because it appears to be a early 90s vintage, and I don't know why, but the early 90s seems to be a golden age of legalese. And I tried to modernize some of it and make it a little more plain English than it was. Again, if there are questions about it right now, I'm happy to talk about those. But again, I don't have just an off the cuff presentation about it.
Well, Mr. Arsali, this might be a good segue to move to that step and review that document.
Yeah, I was thinking that'll probably be the best way is just go line by line on through this. I don't know. I've reviewed it. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review it, but at least we can kind of discuss it. It seems pretty straightforward. Most of what's in there is what we've already done. But I think like we were talking about the panels idea. I would probably remove that personally, but we can discuss it and see with how we work. It doesn't make really much sense to have separate committees or anything else with what we do. Mr. Bissett, anything else you wanted to add before I go into that in terms of legal updates or anything else?
No, that's all. Again, if you would you like me to stick around,
If you
Pete,
don't-
for this discussion?
Sure.
Only if the board would like it.
I think it would be helpful. I don't think it will take us very long, just in case there is something, because I think we might strike through some of the things. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're all good there. So has everyone had a chance to look at it, or has the proposed rules in front of them?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so feel free to stop me wherever. I'm going to kind of go through it myself and then stop me wherever you want to stop to discuss something, because I think a lot of it's not very controversial and probably things that I think would be good with. Source of authority, assuming all those references are correct, which those are good. Officers, that's what we've done, and 2.4 is helpful in terms of that off period, which we kind of did today.
Anthony, just for my benefit, since it sounds like there have been possibly some small changes made since I last saw, would you be able to screen share as we go through?
I have it on my phone, not my computer. I don't know if
I can screen share.
Peter can do it.
Yeah.
Let me get that document open.
Regardless, that's a good idea to kind of look at it that way.
All right, so share screen. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I think can you zoom that into the one page?
Oh, yes. How's that?
That's good for me. All right. So I guess, like I said, source of authority, I'm assuming all those references are correct. And if that's the case, I think I don't have anything else there. Officers, again, that's how we've elected them, and that follows the procedure we've followed so far. Duties of the officers, again, I didn't see anything there that needed to be changed. Administrative, same thoughts.
Anthony, I think we might have to come back and just change some of these things if we decide to strike panels, because panels are in some of these lines. 3.31 of each BOE and panel meeting.
Got it. Yeah, I think once, if we do strike panel, every reference to panel will strike out. Yeah, thanks, David. Administrative meetings. I didn't see any objection. I didn't have any issues there. Again, anybody else, please feel free to just chime in if there's anything you see that needs to be changed. Order of business. Like there's the paragraph numbering in there. It's the 5.1. It's this should be 6.1, but other than that,
Yep.
Amendments. Those look fine to me. Hearings. This is where there's going to be some discussion, I think. 8.2, I just wanted to, as a clarification, because it does say that it has to be electronically recorded until we have minutes. Were our meetings, which were in person, were they electronically recorded?
They were not.
Okay, so if there's no requirement for us to have it electronically recorded, I would suggest we remove that language.
I think there are going to be some special rules related to the hybrid meetings, and we're going to have to see what those are on the 18th.
Okay. I don't know if we can have some language that says shall be electronically recorded if
required.
If required, yeah.
Okay.
Or reference something to Zoom or some kind of hybrid, have some kind of reference there.
Okay.
But I think if required, probably would cover it without us going into the other parts of it. The 8.4, 8.5. So 8.5, the timing, I think is going to be, I think something we should discuss. Do we want to place limits on, we have not had any limits in terms of presentation, other than the fact that everyone has a 1 hour window and oftentimes it's gone long. So do we want to place limits on the presentations on both sides? Anyone have any thoughts there?
As a non-member of the board, I just have one comment. Quite often when it goes long, it's because there's a lot of repetition, a lot of repeating of the same information over and over again. And I think limits might curtail some of that.
I personally agree. I think having some kind of, at least, I don't think we'll get ourselves into trouble if we allow them more time. But I think having a set time as kind of a guideline for them would be helpful, so that we don't have that repetition. I agree. I think especially when they have folks who are representing them, I think it often goes longer than necessarily the homeowners do. Any thoughts? I would say anywhere. I would say 15 to 20 minutes on each side, but I don't know if anybody has a thought specifically.
I was going to say something like no more than 20 minutes. Or, yeah, I think 20 minutes.
So it'll be 20, and then we'll just give 5 for rebuttals, 45, and then 15 for us to discuss it. Okay. That sounds good to me. Any other comments or thoughts on that?
Sometimes you see in other sort of back and forth setups like this, you would have the equal amounts of time divided between the original presentation and the rebuttal. It looks like we're adding that on, but maybe you do 15 for the appellant and then the 5-minute rebuttal so that both sides are equal.
I think the county is going to get less under this framework. So it's appellant, and it is appellant's burden. So appellant has, what we're saying is 20, then the assessor would have 20, and then they would have 5 minutes to rebut.
Okay. If everybody is all right with not equalizing those, that's fine with me. I'm usually on the appellant side, so that's extra fine.
Anyone have any? I mean, usually the assessor's office is a little bit more efficient with their presentation, and we've already. I mean, both presentations we've already seen. Like we should have the physical documents. They really shouldn't be adding too much to it during the presentation, the oral presentation. But yes, I don't have an objection to that. Anybody else want to make that equal time, or is it okay if we give the petitioners or the appellant, I guess in this case, extra time?
Looks reasonable to me as a framework.
Okay, so seeing that, we'll just go based on that. So it'll be 20, 20, and 5.
And Mr. Arsali,
5A. 8.5A, we needed to discuss before we move on.
8.5A.
The swearing in.
Yes, that's right.
Mr. Arsali, relating to the times, basically, like you said, our presentation's all set before the hearing.
Mhm.
And, we are reacting during the first 20 minutes of ours, not just presenting what we have, but also reacting to anything that they're presenting during their time. And following their 5 minutes, typically you guys are asking us questions. And I don't see anything in here precluding that from happening. I want to make sure I'm not reading it wrong, but basically in your time, your discussion among BOE or panel members would be including questions that might come to us.
Yeah, I think we should be good there because I think we will be asking questions both during the presentations, potentially. I think we try not to, obviously, distract from that, but if there's a specific question, we'll bring it up. But yeah, during the discussion, especially, we'll be asking on both sides. So, but usually, as you know, most of our questions go to you. So we'll kind of go. I don't think it'll preclude us from doing that.
Okay.
The only thing, as we're talking about it, is that are we giving too much time? That's the only thing with the 20, 20, and 5, because that's 45, and if we're going to be asking questions, it's another 15. David?
Yeah, I don't think it's too much time.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
And we can always amend these rules if
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't work, but we'll start with that. Okay, so yeah, the 8.5A, swearing in of witnesses. I like that idea. I think it should. I mean, this is what. I mean, you should be telling the truth. It should be under oath what you're saying, because especially you're going to have to testify to especially as a condition. You're going to have to say what it is, and we're not necessarily going to see everything. So I don't think it hurts. So anybody else have thoughts on that? I guess, yeah, I didn't even realize we don't do that. I know down when I was practicing in Florida, you had the swearing in was a part of it.
so does that mean all the county has to be sworn in each time as well?
Yes.
Yes, I think it adds a little gravity to the proceeding. We certainly did it in Virginia Beach.
Mhm. So any objections to including
No, I
that?
think we can add that to the order of business, just the normal procedure for each hearing.
And one note I just want to add with that is, let's make sure these rules are provided to the appellants before they come in, so they're obviously aware of what our rules are, and the timing especially.
Were people
Okay.
not sworn in before?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just would make their case. Okay. Anything else on section 8 hearings? Okay, we'll move on to 9, panels. Anyone see any reason to have panels? I don't. Does anybody else see any reason to have a panel for our purposes? Okay.
So I mean, yeah, if Anthony's saying subgroups should ideally be at least 4 people, I mean, that's our quorum anyway. So I don't see any reason.
Yeah, I don't see a time where, I mean, all of us have met. I mean, I don't know with Fairfax County, maybe when they did this, they have a lot more appeals and they have it in smaller groups and then they go
Right.
en banc. But for us, we don't have that many, and it makes sense for the whole county to be represented on the board for every one of these appeals. So I would strike out 9, and then any reference to panels anywhere else we should remove.
Mr.
Yes.
The only situation that a panel might apply relates to the other item that you guys passed last year, was the visiting a property to do an inspection. I didn't know if maybe a subgroup of you as a panel would be something that you would use for an inspection of a property if you ever decided you actually wanted to inspect a property yourselves.
I think I mean, I don't think we should be doing it normally unless it's a really unusual, like I think that's what we discussed last year, was
Right.
had to be some really unusual circumstance and they have to be able to prove that at the hearing. So if it's that unusual, I think all 6 of us should be going to it.
Okay.
So I don't think that requires us to have this whole panel system. But
Okay.
Anybody else? This is, again, I'm speaking. Anybody else have any other thoughts, please speak up. Appeals, same idea. I think we don't need appeals because again, that's appears to be when a panel is hearing it, then you appeal it to the full board. Again, the full board is hearing all of our appeals. So, or not all of our appeal, but all of these petitions. So there shouldn't be an appeal to our decision. They just have to take it to circuit court at that point. So I would say we strike the appeals section as well.
Makes sense to me.
And then finally, 11. I think that seems fine. Just, I mean, again, having it so that they apply the due date and they use the applications that they need to. So I think that's it. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts, but I think I would feel comfortable with those changes going ahead and voting on this and approving it today. But if anybody else wants to have some time if anyone wants to have any time to think about it or anything else, yeah, let us know.
Where do you want to add in the part about inspections? And I'm guessing you can just do verbatim the ruling that you guys made last year.
And does everyone have that? I pulled that up. Does everyone need a refresh or does everyone have that?
Yeah, can you read it out again?
So in the minutes from, this is the minutes from June 29th of 2021. Item number 3, after discussion, a motion was made by our Sally, and I quote, "As a general rule, we do not inspect properties as a board, but will consider special circumstances," unquote. And then it was further clarified that special circumstances will determine in a hearing with the property owner, is what we had.
We might want to kind of clean up that language, but
Yeah.
I would add it as 8.7 at the end of hearings because I think it's part of our hearing procedure. It might be, we can put it in earlier, I guess, but I think it should be in that hearing section because it's a part of the hearing process, I guess.
Do we want to tidy up the language now, or do we want to?
Yeah, I think we
have-
should.
So we had, as a general rule, we do not inspect properties as a board, but will consider special circumstances.
I don't know if we want to make it more specific with this, like that it's at the hearing. At the hearing, kind of. I don't know if anybody else. Yeah, let me think about it for a second. But if anybody has thoughts on that,
Are there any guidelines for special circumstances?
I think at that we were talking. I think we were not going to put guidelines because it's kind of just based on how we think is right. I think if we have guidelines, then we're kind of force ourselves to follow. I don't know. I really didn't like. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of having these. There was one applicant last year that really, Walkie, you were there. I mean, that really wanted to have this inspection and thought it was. We haven't had that request before. We may even. I would even be fine with if we're putting in new rules to not include that and just not have inspections done of properties. I don't think we're not required to have them, right, Pete? I don't think we're required to have them. So that's I would be fine with that, not having inspections altogether, but I don't want to go rehash the same argument. Well, we have a couple of new members, but I don't want to rehash the same arguments if anybody feels strongly that we should have them, then let's stick with something similar in terms of language.
I shook my head no, and now I can't remember exactly what the wording was in the Board of Equalization manual about inspections.
I think it was our discretion. I'm pretty sure it was we could if we wanted to, but it wasn't like, I don't think it told us one way or another that we either have to or don't have to. But I don't have access to my emails from Zenith in front of me at this moment.
I tend to think that the value to be gained from the inspection is minimal, and that if it's offered as an option, that some people will demand it and feel like they didn't get their fair share if we don't do it. So I would be fine with just saying we're not going to do inspections.
So I guess the point is, do you say that, or you just not say anything, just not mention it?
I think, oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, we can just not have it, but I think it may be helpful to say it just so make it clear, so we don't have that request again, because we just had all that back and forth between at least that one applicant.
Yeah,
And just make
if we have a policy, I think it'd be good to have the policy written down and published to anybody who's coming before us so that they can make an assessment of what they want to ask for with all the information.
I'm trying to see where would be, again, I think it would probably be in the hearings section. I'm trying to think of where it would be appropriate to put that in there. Again, I think we could still do it as 8.7 and just simply say the board. The only thing before we make that final decision, I want to know what the rule was, because I remember there is some language there about inspections, from what I recall.
I just sent the latest version of the BOE manual to everyone, along with the legal update. And I'm searching through it right now.
So on page 22, at the bottom, it has the Board of Equalization must. Okay, now here may. In order to facilitate the performance of its duties, the Equalization Board may, and that's under number 3, enter and inspect any real estate subject to equalization by the board. So it's under the may category. That's what I recall it was. So I think we can make that rule and simply say the Board of Equalization can use that same language. Will not enter and inspect any real estate subject to equalization by the board. I'll use will not. Any other thoughts on that language? But I think just
Wait,
keeping
say
it
that
very-
again. So just the
it
board of
would be the Board of Equalization will not enter and inspect any real estate subject to equalization by the board. The only thing is I don't know if that prohibits us if it's some kind of public facility that we enter, but like Sam's Club is, let's say Sam's Club is appealing. I'm assuming that won't stop us from entering Sam's Club, but
not as a group of 6 or 4 or more.
yeah, I guess it's the board, so it's not a person. Yeah, it's not any individual. So
Have there been any inspections of properties in the past? I mean, is this something
Just
that was done?
last year, and I think did Mr. Van Royen go see it? Yeah. So our chairman
did.
last year went and saw. There was one applicant who really was insisting that his property be inspected by the board, because these properties are inspected by the assessor's office. So they really wanted the board. This person really wanted the board to go, and the chairman last year just decided to go, as I guess, yeah, that's kind of like a peace offering. Yeah. So other than that, we have not had it from, as far as I know, we have not had the board, unless they did like many years ago, but not in recent times.
Many years ago, the assessor used to take a small or a big van and cart the board to every place that was under appeal, I believe.
Oh,
But
gosh.
prior to 2009.
So I'm assuming we're not on board with that. So I think Any objection to that language, just saying we will not do it?
So I have down the BOE will not enter and inspect any real estate subject to equalization by the board.
Evan, any thoughts as the other attorney on the board?
I think that sounds good.
Okay. All right. Anything else that these rules should cover that were not covered here? And before we kind of vote on it, then, Mr. Bissett, anything you see? Yeah, I mean, anything you see that's objectionable with anything that we made changes or with this most recent revision that you think we should hold off on voting on this right now?
So two things. First to that, I think there were enough sort of oral discussions that I think, Pete, you should take the opportunity to redraft it and circulate it and have it voted on at the beginning of the next meeting. The other thing is, Pete, if I may, I have a thought about the question of inspections. I've never come across there being a ruling on this specifically in the context of a BOE, or certainly not in the case of a BOE and inspections, but as a general matter, on appeal to courts have looked unfavorably on decisions by administrative bodies to adopt a rule saying how they will exercise discretion. In other words, if the law says the board may inspect a property, I think that there is some chance that a court on appeal would look askance at the notion of a blanket rule that says we will never exercise that discretion in the positive. I think maybe instead just something much simpler that just says that inspections will only occur on, a majority vote of the board or something like that. And that avoids the necessity to come up with a great deal of guidelines or whatever, just to say this is, these are the circumstances under which an inspection can be had. And when I say a majority vote, it doesn't have to be a majority vote. It could be a super majority vote. It could be, you could say it requires a unanimous vote of the board to have an inspection, whatever. But my recommendation would be to be careful about the notion of adopting a rule that says we will never exercise our discretion, in one way or the other.
I would agree with that, because I think that there may be circumstances where an inspection would be warranted. And as I recall, we discussed this last year, and if the appellant makes a compelling argument that the property is not accurately reflected based on its condition or whatever, at least it gives us the latitude to make an inspection of the property if we all agree that the appellant has made a good argument. Otherwise, we're locked in.
But what is the piece of information that we'd hope to gain from an inspection that couldn't be conveyed by pictures or a video, I suppose?
Or the report of the assessor.
Yeah.
Well, we did discuss that last year, I think. We did discuss photographs and videos, and at that time, we agreed that they can at times be misleading. And really, I think this is my 4th year on the board, and we've only had one person request an inspection. So it's rare to begin with.
Peter, I forget, did you enter that property? Did he let you in the property?
My appraiser did.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't that he didn't let you in, but he wanted us to come in.
Correct.
Okay.
He didn't agree with the adjustments we were making for condition and grade. So to answer your question, I think of Mr. Mayo, It's condition and grade really that is the question when it comes to an inspection. And so it's really how you're looking at that. Are you addressing it enough for condition issues and grade issues?
So condition, I feel probably could be captured accurately by pictures. Grade, I think, is a good argument. Sometimes you can't really see what the grade is of the property without kind of, hammering on it with your hand or looking behind and seeing what was built or kind of poking your head in. So I'd be open to that. I think that's a good argument.
I would just suggest if it's based on Mr. Bissett's kind of recommendation to us in terms of not saying no in there. I'm fine with doing a majority vote, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. I think as long as we can simply just say we deny it. As long as we don't have to explain the reason why we're doing it. Just have them. I don't know if we want to have I think the other issue we have is, are we going to create some kind of application? Like, are they going to file some kind of motion or an application for us to inspect it? Or then we may want to just go back to the rule from last year then that we came up with and just say that this is how we're going to do it kind of as a general, and going back as a general rule, we don't. And I don't know if that's going to be problematic, but as a general rule, we don't, but they can come at the meeting if they show, I forgot what exactly the language was, like extraordinary.
We will consider special circumstances.
Yeah. Then maybe let's go back to that.
Well, if I could add to that, did that language just say we'll consider special circumstances, or do we address by a majority of the board? By a vote,
we didn't go any further than that. We just said
Right.
the board will consider special circumstances.
Because when we have one person who goes out and says, well, they're willing to inspect it, then I feel that we go back into that.
Right.
Almost like a panel of one. So I think that we do need to have an agreement that we'll, vote on it. A majority of the board will agree that the.
I don't know. I mean, I think we can spell it out to say it's majority. I think it reads that way. Usually if the board is making that decision, that should be a majority of the board making that decision, but it doesn't hurt to spell it out.
Okay. I think it would protect us and everyone else in the process to spell it out.
So should we go? So we're gonna have this is the last piece, I think, and then we'll just wrap this up and then have it the final, I guess, the final draft, and we'll consider the next meeting.
Look at it again. Yeah.
But should we just go ahead and try to come up with that language then? Just finalize that language for that. Going back to David, if you can, sorry.
As a general rule, we do not inspect properties as a board, but we'll consider special circumstances.
But the board may on a majority vote do so based on special circumstances.
But may do so after a majority vote.
Yeah. Waki, you were gonna add something?
I was gonna say, what if we change the word special to rare to make it even a more unique? It's really got to be very unique in order for us to consider it, because special is such an arbitrary word.
Just legally special is used more than rare, I feel like, in terms of, but because it's something not ordinary, kind of. So rare could be just 1 in a million for some reason, but special, I would stick with special, but I don't not really tied to it. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that's going to stop, or like people are going to they're going to do it or not, I guess. But at least they have a general idea.
Well, I mean, we had a long discussion, and it's just one person in 5 years, so
Pete, you ready?
How about wording like the board will consider requests made during a hearing, or will only consider requests made during a hearing for a inspection of the property by board members? that might limit it to, that'll keep it from someone requesting in advance and expecting you to see it before the hearing. Would that wording help?
Yes.
I think it would, yes. I'm just going back to the rule then. In order to facilitate, may enter and inspect any real estate subject to equalization by the board. I don't know if we want to just use that language in order to facilitate the performance of its duties. It may.
What if we were to say something like, you know, we normally don't, like, whatever the language is, we normally don't inspect the properties, but the board may agree.
Or the applicant may present special circumstances at a board meeting in which, kind of like that.
Yes, the board may agree to inspect the property based on special circumstances presented by the appellant during the hearing.
I think that covers it. But let's, so what, okay. I think we need to come up with the final language, and David, I know you're writing it all down.
Pencil is,
Going back to you.
pencil is poised.
Um,
I'm not the lawyer.
It's good we have a few on this call, I guess.
Yeah.
Or bad, because we probably could have simplified this. Okay, so Karen, what was that again? Sorry, we kind of said it together, and now I'm not.
Okay. David, what did I say?
No, I was
Um,
poised to take the final version.
Okay. The board normally does not inspect properties. However, the board may agree during, the board may agree to inspect the property based on special circumstances presented by the appellant during the hearing. Is that close enough?
Oh, yes, and then we just have to say on a majority vote or something like that. Have the majority vote.
The
in
board
there.
normally just.
I would say the board may agree during a meeting.
During a meeting, okay.
May agree to do so.
And once David's
So,
done with
so,
that, go ahead.
so something like the board normally doesn't inspect properties, but may agree to do so after an applicant request during a meeting and a majority vote. Something like that.
Yeah, let's put it in there as, I would suggest, let's put it in there as a placeholder, and then we'll have to do the final version anyways next meeting. So I think we've kind of discussed it, and then in the meantime, I think we can kind of think about it a little bit, just make sure that language is clean,
Okay.
and then just finalize it. That's my.
Yeah, and I would suggest that we keep the language of special circumstances in there because I do think it addresses that. Just because you're requesting an inspection doesn't necessarily mean you're going to,
Mhm.
you know,
After
get our approval.
requests during a meeting and consideration of special circumstances.
Yes.
Or only, yeah, just David, whatever you get, just put it down. That's my
Okay.
thought at this point, is just, we'll do it as a placeholder, and then we will, I know we're gonna have to tweak it a little bit, I imagine, at the next meeting. So then we'll have a little bit of time to think about it, and we don't have to go back and forth.
Okay.
So much. But that
Got it.
covers the bases of what we were
Gotcha.
thinking. Okay, I think that's it. Any other thoughts or comments till we move on?
Mr. Farrell, if you want to make the changes to the document and then send it to me, then I'll go over it. And then we can kind of get together and make sure we've got all the changes we want. I mean, overall,
okay.
just this statement.
Okay. I was going to do the minutes and have maybe you guys correct the document, and then we.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I can do that too. I'll tell you what, I will make the changes to the document. I'll send them just to you first for you to
Okay.
read over.
Okay.
And And you and I can get together on anything that, I might have missed, and then send it out to the whole board.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
Okay, anything else on that point? Okay, so let's move on. Next thing I have on the agenda, at least from last time, determine the hearing date schedule. Pete, how many do we, or yes, Mr. Bissett.
Pete, with your permission, I'll drop off now.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Anthony.
Okay. Good luck.
Excuse me. Let me pull that up. Board of Equalization.
$14 at last count, wasn't it?
There are 16 now.
16.
And if we do 4 a day, that's really 4 days. But obviously we want to schedule more. My suggestion would be that we cluster them if we can, but just because it's obviously our meetings run in the summer. So if there is a 2-week window, obviously we're going to have to do alternatives, but if there's a 2-week window when we know all of us are around, if that exists, maybe let's cluster them and do and I think we've been doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. One was in the morning, one was in the afternoon. I personally would prefer it to be clustered in 2 weeks, and then I would have some freedom with the rest of the summer.
Yep.
But
Makes sense.
So,
When can we start in theory, Peter, Billy? When will everything be together and you can start advertising?
We need to advertise 10 days in advance of the first meeting. I am going to be on vacation from the 24th to the 30th of May.
Oh, okay. Well,
So if we can start after the 31st.
What about in June? Is anyone on the board on vacation in June? Okay. Karen, you got your mute.
I'll be away the week of the 5th of June.
5 through 12.
Yes.
Bob? You're mute.
Stand by. I'll be away the week of the June 13th.
All right, so that's 13th through the 7th. Okay.
the Memorial Day is that.
All right. So if we started, so we could in theory start the week of Monday the 20th and
Yeah,
run
20th
stuff.
is the week of 27th.
Yeah. Does that work for people? That would be Tuesday morning, 9 to 11, the 21st. Thursday, if we're following what we've normally done, Thursday afternoon, the 23rd, 1 to 5. Tuesday morning, the 28th, 9 to 1. Thursday afternoon, the 30th of June, 1 to 5. Any objection to that? Evan?
I think I can make all those. Looks clear.
Mr. Farrow, what was the first meeting?
June
The 21st.
21st, 9.
21st. Okay, I got that.
And then we're gonna see if we're gonna be in person or, well, I guess we'll figure out our dates and then we'll see where
6:30, 1
we'll
to
be.
5.
We should have at least one more, and probably, I know we have usually the dates out. We need to have dates like out in October or something like that, right? That's what we usually
Oh,
do
do-
every year.
Do we need a few more of these dates, Peter, before we do supplemental?
Yeah, how many dates have you set?
We've set 4 dates.
Let's see. I would set 6 to 8 of these regular dates.
Okay.
Because it won't hurt us just not to have them, but to have them advertised in advance.
Correct.
And then the dates that Mr. Arsali is referring to would be the for supplemental appeals, which we
Correct.
had any of in the last 7 years, but we still want to have them advertised. So something, I think we did like around the 1st of October, 1st of November, 1st of December last year.
Last year, we were September 2nd, October 12th, November
Yeah.
9th, and December 2nd.
There we go. So there were 4 of those.
Karen, you had your hand.
So I'm a little concerned about, I don't quite understand the hybrid issue, because I may be traveling on the 23rd and I plan to call in. So will this be?
So my understanding of the hybrid rules are that participants in the meeting have to be present in person. So so the panelists themselves, myself, anyone testifying or presenting at the meeting would be in person, in 141 in the room that we used to do the meetings in. And that the hybrid part of it is really only for people to watch, for the public to actually watch the proceedings, but not those who would participate in any way.
Okay.
The board members would have to be there then.
Okay.
Correct.
Just out of caution, I'm really sorry, but I think we need to strike that 23rd date, because I am going to be traveling and I thought I'd just call in.
We do have a quorum, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
Or is going to be a quorum, but I mean, that's the question.
Right.
We would just want to make sure we don't do or schedule
In the-
commercial property on that day.
Okay, that's great.
If you can make note of that, Billy.
Yes.
Okay, so we should do the additional days. Do we want to do? I don't know. It might be risky, but it might also overload us. One thought I had was, I know we do Tuesdays and Thursdays. Do we want to add an additional day in those weeks so that we know it's those weeks we're going to have them, or do we want to go into July and go forward that way? So the only problem is if we are in those weeks, those same people who might not be available are probably not going to be available.
Yeah, I'd probably go into July.
Okay. I just really would like to encourage folks, and maybe when you're scheduling, to tell them these are the dates and try to get everyone done those 2 weeks. That would be excellent.
We definitely do that. We do try to just get them into the first dates and fill them up.
Yes.
And save the later ones. Now, Mr. Wendell Wood, was notorious for taking the final day that was available, and we still had to pull him forward a little bit. But since he luckily hasn't been appealing anything in the last couple of years, we haven't had that problem. But for the most part, most people just want it in and get it done. So it's not a problem.
Okay, so moving on to July then. What are the availability issues? Or last week in June, there was some limited availability, right? That was why we didn't do that one.
First 2 weeks of June, we didn't do.
And then Bob, were you not available the last week of June? Is that?
No, I'm available.
No, he's there. We're
Oh,
good.
he was
We're set in June.
Okay,
So
so but
the question
we
is
did last.
July.
Okay, we just did, what dates did we? Oh, we did 21st, 3rd.
21, 23rd, 28th, 30th.
Okay, we did the last week of June. Okay, sorry.
yeah.
Okay, so July available limited. I'll probably away that first week at least.
So let's just take a week break.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Do Tuesday the 12th and Thursday the 14th.
I would prefer we go to the next week if possible. Like I would
Tuesday
say
the
19th, 21st, and 26th, 28th, but I don't know if anybody else
That works
have,
for me. I'm sure we can have enough people. Works for me.
You say once more, what did we decide
It'll
on?
be Tuesday the 19th, Thursday the 21st, Tuesday the 26th, Thursday the 28th
of July.
of July.
All right.
Bear with me just 1 minute while I look at my calendar. See.
And are those all day events then?
Let's see.
We do them 4 hours in the morning on Tuesdays and then 4 hours in the afternoon on Thursdays.
Okay.
9 to 1 or 1 to 5.
Got it. So same as what we were proposing for June. Okay.
I will not be available on the 14th. of
And that
July.
is not one. Okay, that's not a choice.
Okay,
All right, let's do those 4.
With the understanding that they may not be used.
Correct.
Hopefully not be used.
Correct.
And then should we go into, that should be enough dates then. That's 8 days
Yeah,
for
yeah.
16 applications. That should be plenty.
And then
And
I
then
suggest we just do the first Tuesday of each month and just leave it at that. September, October, November, and December.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, we could alternate and do a Tuesday one month, Thursday the next month, but
I think that's fine. November, I was just making sure it's not election day, but it's not.
right.
That's the
Okay.
second Tuesday this year, so.
okay. Right, so it'd be Tuesday the 1st, right, in November.
Mhm. So it'll be September 6th, October 4th, November 1st. and We didn't go into December, did we?
We did last year, so we did December 2nd, so let's just do
December 6th.
December 6th.
Again, we should not be using those dates. And only
Correct.
4 of us will have to be there anyway, so.
Correct.
Any objections to those dates? Okay. Then I don't think we have anything else on the agenda today. Is that correct? Once we have these dates kind of settled.
I believe that's it.
Okay, anyone else, any comments or?
What was the December date? The 6th?
6th.
Okay,
And these are all Tuesdays, so they'd all be 9 to 1.
all right. Okay,
David, could you just
Good.
repeat all those dates very quickly?
6/21, 9 to 1.
You don't have to give the time. It's okay.
Okay, 6/23,
Uh-huh.
6/28, 6/30, 7/19, 7/21, 7/26, 7/28, then 9/6, 10/4, 11/1, and 12/6. And I hope to get these minutes all over to Billy for final typing and out so we can double check all that.
And these are all gonna be again in person, most likely, we're thinking at this point.
Yes. I'm expecting that the board is going to pass that resolution on the 18th. And that'll include the planning commission and like there were 5 or 6 boards that were included in that, including this one.
Any other business? Do we have a motion
I'm
to
just-
adjourn
I'm
them?
just wondering where the meeting location is. Do we know yet?
Well, once they pass that resolution and decide that it's going to be in person and hybrid, it'll be in room 141 in the county, 241 in the county office building. It's the room right next to my office. It's a big conference room.
Okay. Anyone else? So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn until 9 o'clock, 6/21 at this office, wherever the meeting's to be decided.
A second?
I second it.
Thanks, Karen. All right, I'm just assuming all in favor. Aye.
Aye.
And 2:15, we're adjourned. All right, everyone. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank-
Thank you.